archaeologist, philosopher, bonsai aficionado, author, black belt, and squanderer of over 50,000 hours watching B-movies. Using archaeology to dig deep and connect clues, he uses this wealth of useless knowledge to bring you classic snarky movie reviews and world-famous short summaries. Now broadcasting from beautiful downtown Tallahassee, it's Nantan Lupan at the Drive-In.
Remember that I mentioned stuntman Chuck Courtney in the Green Beret podcast? Well, here's why. Today's film is one of those film titles that make you say, wow. Billy the Kid Versus Dracula, 1966. Unfortunately, this episode may be a little short due to the limited star power in this film. Other than John Carradine, who I could talk about for days, Miss Folgers, and a few cameos, there's not much to say about the cast. John Carradine played the role of Count Dracula, posing as James Underhill. Carradine was the patriarch of the Carradine clan. You know David from Kung Fu and the Kill Bill films, and Robert from the Big Red One, 1980, and the Nerds films. And Keith from Southern Comfort, great fun, and Cowboys and Aliens, 2011. John was born in Manhattan's Greenwich Village in 1906. For a time, he worked as a painter and sketch artist. He eventually ended up in New Orleans in 1925. Remember Lugosi showed up there in the late 1920s? I believe this is where you go to learn to be a vampire. And I think I turned into one myself one maudlin Monday night. When Carradine moved to Hollywood, he made a habit of walking on Hollywood Boulevard while reciting lines from Shakespeare, and he was nicknamed the Bard of Hollywood Boulevard. Some of Carradine's early roles include The Invisible Man, 1933, The Black Cat, 1934, Stagecoach, 1939, and The Grapes of Wrath, 1940. Carradine was in Voodoo Man, 1944, with Bela Lugosi, and The Face of Marble, 1946. These last two had the same director as this film. Late in life, Carradine played a melancholy werewolf, Early Kenton, in The Howling, 1981. The character's name was a nod to John's House of Frankenstein, 1944, and House of Dracula, 1945 director, Early C. Kenton. Chuck Courtney was cast in the role of William Billy the Kid Bonney, and boy was he flat. Courtney was best known for his 14 television appearances as the Lone Ranger's 1950-55 masked nephew, Dan Reed. During this time, he showcased his ability to ride, which led to other Western roles such as Born to the Saddle, 1953. He was cast in a series of roles aimed at the teenagers, such as Teenage Thunder, 1957, Teenage Monster, 1958, and of course, today's film. During this time, he was making more money as a stuntman and began to move in that direction. Both his two sons and his two stepsons became stuntmen as well. He worked on a few other movies, including 3 with John Wayne, the worst of which was The Green Beret, 1968, where he worked as a stuntman. And that's from an article by Bill Libby called Dying, It's a Living. In addition to his work as a stuntman and second unit director on films ranging from Swiss Family Robinson, 1960, to Clint Eastwood's The Rookie, 1990, Courtney appeared in many westerns, including the other 2 John Wayne epics, El Dorado and Rio Lobo. Melinda Plowman played the role of Elizabeth Betty Bentley. Melinda Plowman was born in 1941 in Texas. She's an actress known for Hometown Story, 1951, this film, and Carrie, 1952. Not the one with the bucket of blood. Virginia Christine played the role of Eve Oster, the peaceful immigrant who is the only one that sees what is going on. While she had a long and varied movie and television career, she is best known as the Folgers Coffee Lady. Ask your parents. Bing Russell played Dan, quote, Red Thorpe, the ranch hand that was always fighting with Billy. Bing also had a long TV and movie career. However, what makes him stand out is he is the father of Kurt Russell. Remember my man crush? Marjorie Bennett played Mary Ann Bentley, the mother of Betty. Bentley was born in Australia in 1896. She had over 200 film and TV credits and would be recognizable to many. She was in Mary Poppins 1964, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane 1962, and 101 Dalmatians 1961 as the voice of Duchess. Olive Carey played the role of Dr. Henrietta Hull. She was the widow of Harry Carey Sr. and the mother of Junior. This was her last film role, and she was one of the shining lights in this flick. Harry Carey Jr. had a small cameo as Ben Dooley, the wagon master. Carlita played Nana, the Indian maiden that was killed by Dracula. The only reason I even mention her is she had that one name thing going. For the life of me, I can't figure out why. Story. Okay, before I get going on this film, I have to say that they didn't have any kind of light filters, so the only way you could tell it was nighttime was because Dracula was up or a bat was flying around. Other than that, the day looked just like night. The opening scene begins with a nice German couple bedding down in their blanket rolls on the Great Plains next to a wagon. At first I wondered why they were going to sleep in the daytime. Then I saw the worst mechanical bat I have ever seen bobbing around in the sky. So the mother, Eve Oster, Virginia Christine, is worried that something is going to get their grown daughter, Lisa Oster, which was played by Hannah Landman, who they have sleeping about 12 feet away. The father, Franz Oster, Walter Janowitz, tells her not to worry. They could have her move closer. Right on cue, the bat drops behind the wagon and poof, the vampire, John Carradine, walks from behind the wagon. They light his face red before he kills, and it's a great effect on Carradine's narrow face. He begins drinking the girl's blood, sees a crucifix in her hand, turns into a bat, and flies away. The scene changes to a stagecoach with 4 riders. Mary Ann Bentley, Marjorie Bennett, her brother, James Underhill, William Forrest, a whiskey salesman, and the vampire they had just picked up. They are all spooked by the strange man they picked up in the night. The driver of the stage even tells the shotgun rider that he better find another job if he's so nervous. You do realize that when you yell shotgun to get in the front seat, it's a reference to the guy that used to protect the stagecoach. In the stagecoach, Mary starts spilling the beans about the ranch, her brother James coming to help her manage the farm and help raise what, in her opinion, is a smoking hot niece. She shows the picture to Dracula and he goes crazy. He starts getting all big-eyed and begins rambling about how lovely she is. Really, this is the creepiest part of the movie. It's getting close to sunup, so the vampire heads away, but not before he spies a beautiful Indian maiden, Nana, played by Carlita. Dracula kills Nana, and when she is found in the morning, the tribe goes crazy and heads after the stage, now carrying only 3 people. All of the people on the stage are killed by the Indians. Drac goes to the stage and grabs a picture of the girl and his fake uncle ID. We are then introduced to the foreman of the ranch, a Mr. William Bonney, Chuck Courtney. He has reformed from being Billy the Kid. Billy is also engaged to the lovely niece Elizabeth, a.k.a. Betty Bentley, played by Melinda Plowman, which after all is the best way for a foreman to move up. A couple of ranch hands ride by, one of which is Red, Bing Russell. They are bad-mouthing Billy for taking Red's job and his girl. Billy and Betty head into town to meet the stage. Drac flies in on the Bat Express and lays out his story and assumes the role of James Underhill, a.k.a. Fake Uncle. Red and the other hands are in the saloon drinking when Billy arrives. So Fake Uncle is cold and aloof when he finds out that his, quote, sister, unquote, has been killed. The nice German couple shows up at the hotel/saloon and start telling the vampire tale. It all falls on deaf ears. Billy and Red have a little tiff at the bar. Harry Carey Jr. has a cameo as the wagon master. So, Fake Uncle Drac gives his room to the nice German couple. The mother and the daughter share the bed, while the father guards the door outside. Right on cue, the squeaky bat shows up at the window. Since it is his room, he goes right in and kills Lisa. Fake Uncle takes the Bat Express to the ranch. Billy is consoling Betty when Fake Uncle swoops into the ranch. Fake Uncle starts glamming her while her fiancé Billy is watching. Much to the chagrin of Fake Uncle, they also hire the nice German couple to help out around the ranch. Eva says that the vampire is Fake Uncle. Billy gets a little freaked out and gallops out to the ranch to check on Betty. When Billy crashes in, Drac discredits him in Betty's eyes. Dracula drops the line saying he is so tired he may sleep all day. Great line. The nice German couple arrive at the ranch. Eva brings wolfbane into Betty's room and puts it all around the window. Okay, so if she brought all that wolfbane from the old country, why didn't she use it to protect her daughter? She also explains how vampires create mates, which seems to be Betty's fate. Right on cue, the bat shows up at the window but can't get past the wolfbane. He makes some terrible squeaking noise, I think maybe because the bat's mechanical, and then flies away. The ranch hands report that a wolf killed a lamb, and old Injun Jim says he saw a bat fly away. Red and Billy have another fight, and this time Billy gets the hound beat out of him. German lady goes into the vampire's room and finds that the bed has not been slept in, and that the mirror is turned to face the wall. She double-checks the wolfbane in Betty's room and hangs her personal cross over the bed. This is all too much for Betty, and she makes Eva take down the wolfbane. Billy has a huge bruise on his ribs and goes to see what may be the worst doctor ever, Henrietta Hall, Olive Carey. She checks the wounds and says no broken bones as she slaps the hell out of his side. She pulls the book off the main shelf and reads all of the lore on how a vampire kills or makes mates. She also explains that vamps don't cast reflections. Fake Uncle wants Betty to show him the abandoned silver mine. Now we need to deal with this issue. Wouldn't a silver mine be a terrible place for a vampire? I mean, can't you kill vampires with silver? This scene is shot in broad daylight with birds chirping. He tries to glam Betty, but she's too strong at this point. Billy finds another dead lamb while Drac checks out his new dig. Billy finds Betty at the mine and they have an argument. They plan the mirror trick, but Uncle Drac overhears. Billy tells the story to the sheriff, but Red overhears and rats him out to Fake Uncle, thus landing himself the foreman's job. He even names the mirror trick as the vampire test. Fake Uncle fires Billy because he is Billy the Kid. Drac sends the Germans to the bunkhouse, and Red escorts Billy off the property. Billy's drinking it up in the saloon when Red shows up. The two have a fist fight and then a gunfight, which of course Billy wins. Duh, he's Billy the Kid. Billy goes to Doc Henrietta for advice. At the same time, Drac glams Betty in another creepy uncle scene. He tells her the plans to make her his bride and bites her neck. Betty is all in. Drac dashes to the cave to prepare the love nest, complete with torches and a red velvet spread on the bed. Eva sees the double bites on Betty's neck. About this time, Billy shows up. They take Eva to the doctor. Her diagnosis? I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. The doc says if she didn't know better, it's the work of a vampire. About this time, the sheriff arrests Billy for killing Red. Drac gets a little twisted because Betty is not at the ranch. He goes to the sheriff's and finds out that Betty is at the doctor's. Drac asks where he can find this backwoods female pill slinger. Ouch. Drac pops over to the doc's office and quickly fails the vampire test. They have a nice floating girl effect in the mirror because you can't see Drac. When Drac sees the mirror, he runs out like he's in pain. The doc brings a metal knife to kill the vampire, but the sheriff does not believe her. The doc then breaks Billy out of jail. Billy won't take the knife because he has, quote, never seen a man that a bullet won't kill, unquote. The doc reminds him that Drac is not a man. He leaves anyway. Drac and Betty arrive at the cave. Billy checks the house and then rides to the cave. Doc and the sheriff head to the cave. Billy arrives at the cave ahead of the sheriff. Drac is hypnotizing Betty and puts her on the velvet bed. Billy shoots Dracula to no effect. Drac grabs Billy and chokes him out. The sheriff and the doc show up just as Billy awakes. Drac says, "Your bullets can't hurt me." The sheriff unloads his 6-shooter on Drac. Now, in what I believe is the best part of this film, Billy takes the sheriff's empty gun and throws it at the vampire. The impact of the gun knocks the vampire stupid and he falls to the ground. The doc gives the knife to Billy and he sticks it in the vampire's chest. For effect, he uses a big rock to hammer it in. The worst bat ever flies out of the cave and drops dead. Dracula turns into a skeleton and Betty comes back to life. Notes. During production, John Carradine would walk off the set during his lunch breaks to visit a local bar in full Dracula regalia. Billy the Kid Versus Dracula was shot back-to-back with Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter, 1966. This was also written by Carl K. Heidelman and directed by William Bodine. George Caesar, who played the whiskey salesman Joe Flake, was in The War of the Worlds 1953, The Werewolf 1956, The Giant Claw 1957, and Attack of the Giant Leeches 1959, as well as several Elvis Presley films. Carlita starred opposite the original Count Dracula in William Bendine's Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla, 1952. Quote, "My worst film? That's easy. A thing called Billy the Kid Versus Dracula. I needed the money. To be honest, actors have to live too, you know. It's a bad film. I don't even remember it. I was absolutely numb." Unquote. John Carradine. World famous summary. Girl falls for older man. Boyfriend kills him. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. How about popping over to iTunes and subscribing or giving me a review if you like it? I want to thank Joanna, Marvin, Emmett, Jamal, and Anna Lee. And you can find me over at snarkymoviereviews.com. Thanks.